Well, in a little over 2 weeks, Minnesota's state legislature will officially report for the 2014 regular session. Now, this past Thursday, State Representative Gene Pawlowski and State Senators Jeremy Miller and Matt Schmidt participated in an Eggs and Issues breakfast forum sponsored by the Winona Area Chamber of Commerce. I had the opportunity to ask each of them about the topics that will dominate the debate during the upcoming session: minimum wage and the bonding bill. On minimum wage, each talked about the disparity between House and Senate proposals and the likelihood of conforming to the federal minimum wage.
The minimum wage is still in conference committee. The big difference is the House bill was about $3 above the Senate bill. And so it was not resolved during the last session, but these sessions now merge together, so that conference committee could continue. They could report a bill out. I don't think they will. With the discussion now in Washington about a minimum wage, at least in selected areas at the direction of the president, at $10, it does change the discussion here. So I don't support what the House had done. I think we need a more moderate bill. I'm not sure we're going to get a bill out of this conference committee, so they may have to reconstitute another conference committee and take a look at another bill.
Right now, the minimum wage in Minnesota is actually over $1 below the federal minimum wage. And there's an effort to increase the minimum wage throughout the country. And in Minnesota, we're certainly going to have that discussion in 2014. Last year, the House passed a bill off the floor at around the $10 per hour level. And the Senate wasn't quite comfortable with going that high. And so this year, I think we'll probably settle somewhere between, that $8 an hour, that $10 an hour. And I think what we're striving for is something that's sustainable, that is implemented in time responsibly, and that does put money in hardworking Minnesotans' pockets, but doesn't have any adverse consequences.
I support federal conformity. Right now, Minnesota is kind of an outlier amongst the states that are around us. We're the only one that has a lower minimum wage compared to the federal government. So I certainly support federal conformity. And then I'm really looking for input from residents, citizens of the district that I represent, small businesses, to see what their feedback is on this particular issue, if we need to go above and beyond that federal conformity, and how that may impact the people in our area, as well as the small businesses throughout the region.
On the subject of the bonding bill, all three lawmakers acknowledged the gap between what the governor has asked for, the bonding level set during the last legislative session, and the multi-billion dollars in requests that have been received.
In my mind, this is a great time to be bonding. Our backlog of worthy projects is considerable. I'm on the Senate Bonding Committee. I've had a chance to tour around the state, see a number of really worthy projects. I think we have nearing $4 billion of requests for bonding money in 2014. And our debt capacity puts us at maybe $1.3 billion is what we could do responsibly. And in the course of history, it's been difficult for a legislature and governor to rally around a bill that's above that $1 billion mark. And so there's talk of somewhere, maybe between $850 million and $1 billion this year. And that's a compromise that we're going to have to hatch in the course of the legislative session.
The governor was about $1 billion, and we had agreed to $850 million in the bonding bill. So there would be a tighter bill in both the House and Senate if we kept it at $850, and that's why I brought up the discussion of using cash. There are some reasons to use cash to address some projects like demolition, which technically we probably can't bond for anyway, but we know we need to demolish some things, particularly on some of the college campuses.
Bonding proposals, it's an interesting deal, because by the time we get into session here in a couple of weeks, there will be anywhere from between $3 and $4 billion of projects proposed throughout the state. They're all good projects. There are some very good and great projects that are certainly a higher priority than others. So we need to take that $3 to $4 billion and bring it down to a proposal. My guess is somewhere between the $850 million and the $1 billion that the governor proposed on a bonding bill.
One project on Winona's wish list that didn't make the governor's list is the Louisa Street Extension project. Senator Miller and Representative Pawlowski believe there is a good chance the project will be included in the final bill. Senator Schmidt said he would lend his support to the project.
Certainly something that I'm supportive of. I was actually a bit shocked that it did not make it into the governor's proposal, but we'll continue to work on it. I know Representative Pawlowski and I have both been supportive, both authored this legislation, and we'll continue to do whatever we can to try to get it in the legislature's proposal.
The House and Senate still have to put their bonding bills together, so I think it's a good chance that we can get it in the House or Senate bill.
You know, from my point of view, I would say that that's probably a longer shot compared to others that are being discussed. But the bill is, being put together in the course of the legislative session. Everything is in place, so to speak. There's a lot of projects of great significance that we want to advocate for, and I certainly would support it. I would just make sure that our friends at the local level are also thinking about Plan B in case it weren't to get funded.
The legislature will reconvene in regular session on Tuesday, February 25th. Committees from both chambers have already been meeting to form the discussions of the upcoming session. Governor Mark Dayton has labeled this an unsession. In addition to the bonding bill, legislators are going to be tasked with streamlining state codes and statutes to bring them up to date. How out of date are some of those rules? Well, Senator Schmidt commented on how the word telegraph is still used in statutes dealing with communications issues.